one of my favorite writers, all-time favorite jokes, which I'll bring up, when he's here, and just a Boston legend, the brilliant Jonathan Katz is here.
Yay!
Is zooming with us. Jonathan,
Thank you so much.
Do you know what my favorite joke is that I quote you on?
Can I guess?
Yes.
The whole goddamn... No.
Do you know?
Nope.
Okay, you said the big question for pro-lifers is, when does life begin? And for me, it's after my second cup of coffee. Jonathan Katz. Perfect joke. Perfect joke.
Mm-hmm. Even my wife's obstetrician laughed at that.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
It's so nice to have you on the show. You're live from Boston adjacent.
Yeah, Newton, Mass.
Right.
And I learned a bunch of stuff, but I just learned that you were a table tennis all-star. At one point, you were the New York State champion?
Yeah, I played in tournaments, and I competed for money, and I once won $200, which was enough to pay my bus back to New York. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a lucrative choice of careers.
But did you, on these competitions, do you open a little case that has a table tennis paddle in it?
I did. It was a doctor's bag. It's right next to me. And I do have one table tennis joke. Ask me what my style was.
What was your style?
Defensive.
What? So do you just did you grow up playing table tennis? I play badminton, and I just happen to be good at it because I have long arms.
Well, I was just trying to get out of the house, really, because my sister and my parents were really difficult to live with. Mm-hmm. I have a sister who's 2.5 years older who was really struggling with her mental health, and she ended up in a psychiatric hospital for about a year.
Getting out of the house is a good way to. Getting any sort of sport was a good way to get out of the house.
Yeah. Did you play sports?
God, no. I've talked about this because I was pretty tall in like 7th grade, and I got taken out of class to try intramural basketball. After high school, after school, and I was so just clumsy that they said, no, you're just tall. That's it. And my cousin was 5'2", and she was great. She was like an amazing center on the girls' basketball team. But
you drove cross country, you said, to compete? Is that what you were doing? Drove from New York to LA?
Well, that was for a particular tournament for the U.S. Open, which was happening in USA. In Los Angeles. I don't know how much of the story is either funny or interesting, but, I didn't know where I was going to stay, but my father remembered that he had a girlfriend named Lucille something, and she put me up. I stayed with her and her sons.
He wasn't his girlfriend at the time.
No, my dad was married to my mother at the time.
Okay, that's good.
No, my father was like a stud. He married... After my mom, he married several women. He was a communist who discovered that he was drawn to rich women.
That's lucky, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you don't discuss politics and the money keeps rolling in, what's the problem?
Yeah.
You said you stayed with the son was there?
He just wanted there to be enough for everyone, including him.
The girlfriend's son was there?
Yeah.
Did y'all look alike?
That part of the trip was that wasn't fun. I didn't like those guys. But my dad was married to the heir to the Bloomingdale estate.
Really?
A couple of years.
Wow.
And she sued him for everything, which was nothing pretty much.
And where's Bloomingdale's now? Bankrupt.
Is that true?
Maybe. But I think that just means they filed for bankruptcy and then don't have to pay the vendors that actually supplied their purses and shoes and clothes.
Well, my dad was married and having an affair with my mother. And I think that's where the term wandering Jew comes from. Our dads.
But was he a stud, though? Right. I don't get that impression.
I don't know. I didn't think he was very attractive. Yeah. He was a tall blonde, if you can imagine that.
That seems so unlikely.
I know.
You're from Boston?
Grew up there? I
there?
actually grew up in New York City.
Where?
in Manhattan mostly.
Wow, what part? That's so lucky.
West 78th,
Oh, wow.
East 90th, 72nd between First and York. As I said, my parents were communists, so we kept moving.
But okay, you were saying earlier before we started recording, you remember the first time you met Laura. When was that? Where was that?
I think it was on Commonwealth Avenue, and maybe we were on our way to Stitches.
Uh-huh.
And you had on like a red, what looked like a boy shirt. Mm-hmm. I would like to have owned it when I was a boy.
And that's how you wanted my clothes. And so you had to talk to me. Well, I was, I still am, I think, a pretty, I guess, androgynous dresser. I mean, I try to.
No, you're not.
I don't know. I try to get dressed up sometimes.
She undervalues her stylish appeal. You're very femme and chic.
Jonathan, and I think, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, when I first met Lenny Clark, I had come out from New York, and I was just getting used to Boston accents, and because I came from basically Buffalo, Erie, Pennsylvania, Western New York, and he said, "So Laura, much of it?" And he said, "No." He goes, "So Laura, are you rugmuncher?" And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Are you muffed ever?" And I was like, what? And then Kenny Rogerson said, I believe what the gentleman is asking is, are you a lesbian? And I was like, no. Because he goes, oh, yeah, because I never see you with anybody. Muffed ever?
My favorite impression Laura does is a bigoted Bostonite. That's my favorite.
Oh, thank you. This fucking guy.
It's just because he said we have the same body type doesn't mean you're masculine. It means I'm feminine.
Oh, I don't think so.
That's what that means.
What does it mean, Jonathan?
Well, just you're both very skinny.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm talking about in the shot that was taken maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Okay.
That's the shot that goes along with your podcast.
That photo.
That's 15 years ago.
We have aged in 15 months. I told you.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while.
Right.
Hey, Laura, would you like to hear the introduction that Lenny Clark gave me?
Yes, please.
This next guy, he can sing, he tells jokes. He'll eat shit if you ask him. Please welcome Jonathan Katz.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
Once I bumped into him in Boston, and he said, "Come here, you Jew bastard," and I can say that because I'm married to one.
He married a Jew bastard. I love it. Yeah. You're one of the phenomenal comics that will actually bring other comics into a room. So that they're not just talking about
Laura.
themselves outside, and or their set or whatever, or an audition. And I remember Jonathan's song, which was "This Heart is Closed for This Heart is Closed for Alterations," and I didn't know it was a song that you had written.
Yeah, I wrote it with David Mamet years ago. I was a singer-songwriter long before I was a comedian. In fact, I had a band called Katzenjammers.
Yes.
And if you go onto YouTube and you search for that song, "This Heart is Closed for Alterations," you'll see Robin Williams singing it on Mork and Mindy.
What?
Really?
I'm not suggesting you do that. Yeah.
Wow.
Wait a second. How did that happen? Is he stealing your song or is he singing your song?
No, it happened because his first wife is my ex-girlfriend from college.
Sorry, when you say first wife, balloons go up.
There's something about first wives.
And she wanted you to have your song on the show.
She introduced my music to Robin, and in fact, on my podcast, Hey, We're Back, I have many dead guests. I mean, guests who are now dead, and one of them is Robin Williams singing songs that I wrote.
Wow.
Another dead guest is Gary Shandling, leaving me a phone message.
How did it feel to see someone like Robin Williams performing your music?
I spent a year on the road with him. I was his musical director.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And he's really not a good singer at all.
Mm-hmm.
and he would do a couple of bars, and then he would go into something Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
But my path from music to comedy was people did not like my music that much, but they liked the stuff I said in between songs.
So the breaks in between songs got longer and longer, and the songs got shorter and shorter.
Yeah. And then I became a cabaret artist after that at a club in New York called, help me out here, Laura. It was run by Louis Black, oddly enough.
Oh, it wasn't the West Bank.
Yes, the West Bank.
It was.
I did a cabaret
okay.
act there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the road like with him and opening for him? Was it just the two of you out there together? Was there like management or anything with you?
Mork and Mindy was at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
And I would offer to sell a vial of Robin's urine to the women who were mating. So many women were waiting to meet him, and I offered this vial for $500. And that's how I made a living.
Mm-hmm.
He was just so hot right then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredible.
And there was a lot of drugs and.
Yeah. Did you stay in touch with him through the years after that? Because he got to such a phenomenal movie stardom.
Yes, I did. And making him laugh was one of the best feelings in the world.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
And I think the last time I did it was in a hotel in Boston. He and Valerie, that's his first wife. And my wife and I had dinner with him. And I talked about the vagina monologues with Senor Wences.
And how did that go, Jonathan? I mean, how did how did Senor Wences do it?
I've never seen the vagina monologues, but
I said that my vagina walked out of that show.
Was it outraged?
It just a lot of the song. I don't know. Just a lot of the material seemed below the belt to us.
Stop.
Yeah.
The material was really stretched thin.
I used to do a bit about that. The doctor says that I need to listen to my body, and I didn't, and that my vagina said, "Where's Jim? What happened to Jim? Why do we even bother?"
That's really good. I can relate to trying to be a musician and nobody liked it. No one was interested in the music I made. And
were
the
you
reason
part of a band or were you solo?
Both. I tried
were you
everything.
A solo act?
I played bass in a band. I played piano, so I tried that alone, and that was too like dramatic and boring for people. And plus, George Winston already had that job.
But you can sing.
No,
right?
not really. No, not at all. It sounds like I could, but I can't. I've tried. I've embarrassed myself.
I sing like a bird, and that's the problem with me.
Yeah, but see, it hurts your feelings to be like good. It hurt my feelings to be like, oh, I love doing this, but I'm like no good at it, and that nobody really wants it. Like it's just maybe for me. Did you have to pack it away and like now I'm just a comedian, or is it like, do you still create music? Do you still write?
I can't, it's just like being funny. I can't stop being musical. Mm-hmm. That sounds like such an obnoxious thing to say. I take it back. I'm a good musician. Mm-hmm. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better. We'll bleep the first part.
I'm taking jazz piano lessons.
Oh, great.
Wow.
But really, my first instrument was the guitar, and might be a little too medical for you guys, but I've been living with MS since 1997, and my left hand is so weak I couldn't form the chords, and we're out. I'm sorry.
No, that's how we're going to start it.
Oh,
How do you like compensate? Like, what do you do?
the piano is a little easier to play, but I also play lap steel guitar.
Oh, wow.
How do you transition from being a musician into comedy, and then and now you're touring with Robin Williams at the height of his first height?
Yeah, this was a
And John, you have transitioned, correct? You were Julie. You were Julie.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I was able to do it. That he was working, looking for this album cover called "Reality, What a Concept." That was his first album, And I get a credit on the album. Had my songs been on the album, it would never have to work again.
So he was doing your material live.
Yeah. He did 2 songs, Born to be Punished and This Heart is Closed for Alterations. And I was part of this band that he worked with on stage. And my big fear was, I was so nervous with slipping off the stool during the song. I was afraid I was going to fall off the stool, but I didn't.
Why? Just because you were nervous? What? You're sweating? How would you be falling off the stool?
Yeah, I was sweating. You know, it was a very slippery material. People were pushing me.
But how does it happen that you don't get a credit on that album?
I do have a credit. I'm not listed as the writer of the songs.
You do get like a special thanks?
Yes, something like that.
That means nothing. A fucking special thanks. I hate those things.
Oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm just happy. It's an honor to be mentioned. Like that bullshit.
I mean, just when I see that, I always, on an album or anything, or even on a movie, something, I think special thanks. Like what?
When was the last time either of you guys sang "We Are the World"?
I didn't even sing it when it came out.
Publicly?
Yeah.
And you know something, Jonathan? I have a problem with that because of the line, "Do they even know it's Christmas after all?"
That's not that song.
It isn't?
No. That's...
Jonathan, you know I had a brain aneurysm 3 years ago, right? I really did. And I feel like...
That's Heal the World.
But Laura, was that a joke about a brain aneurysm?
No, I almost died, 3 years ago. And now I'm just slowly powering down. You know, like I'm kind of running out of batteries. I need to be plugged in.
No, did you actually have a brain?
Yeah, I really did. And I really think it's hard to find words now, too. I can tell there's a difference. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
I shouldn't mention it because then I feel like I'm, it's self-sabotage in a way. But yeah.
No.
Yeah, Garrett saved my life. So how do we get divorced now?
Can't do it.
I want to read a poem and see if you know who the author is. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Do you have 2 seconds, Jonathan?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
go
be right
grab
back.
it. What's the pretense for... Are you a poetry master? Or are you...
I was going to say in his intro that he's a poet laureate. And I forgot.
Is that a secret? Or wait, are you really?
No. I don't particularly like poetry, but I'm willing to hear this poem.
I can't wait to see what it is.
Wait, do you know the author of the poem?
No, I wish. Garrett, do you know what she's bringing? No, Garrett doesn't know either. I would totally snitch
'Cause
and
that
let
would
you
be-
in on it. Yeah.
I could really
Go,
impress her.
Sure.
Jonathan?
I've been trying for
This-
so many
this-
years to impress Laura Keitlinger.
This is a really short... Sorry, look at my hair. Huh?
Huh?
Oh, look,
Nothing.
Jonathan, this is
Yeah.
a really short poem, and I want to know if you know who the author is, okay? It's a little test.
Rod McEwen?
I haven't done it yet!
Oh, okay.
Okay. Last year they scorched the valley of Sonkan. This year the Leek Hills and their horses go, nosing out ashes in bone-white snow. Nowhere and nowhere and nowhere to the Han, the latest dynasty, we've marched to man. The walls, the great wall stands, the beacons burn. The beacons burn, the Tartars will not turn their horses' heads of bone. It all began before our fathers, and their fathers said, it all began before our fathers. Peace. A whitened warhorse whinnies on his knees from nowhere as the turkey buzzards seize the looping blue intestines of the dead and fasten them as garlands on the trees. Who is it, Jonathan?
I'm going to go with Robert Frost.
No. It is. I just realized. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Rob. Yeah, he's a little bit pedestrian to say like things like intestines. Okay.
The blue looping intestines, was that the line?
Yeah, and we were talking about turkeys earlier. It's Robert Lowell.
Okay, but I think I'm an intelligent guy, but I'm not literate. I'm a pseudo-intellectual.
I would say much smarter than most.
Thank you.
Laura's just hanging out in this palace reading poetry all day. Like, what is this like? Are you
You're
just
so cute.
carried in on a palanquin? Like, what is happening?
No, I'm trying to keep what is left of my brain alive, I guess.
Do you play these games from the New York Times?
Like Wordle?
Yeah, they put out a bunch of games every week. I would just would like you to keep your mind working for at least another week.
Okay, I should try that.
Yeah.
Do you really notice that your recall for like word, like your vocabulary is different?
I think so. Well, I feel like sometimes I was saying to Garrett that I feel like it's on autocorrect, but it's the wrong words. You know, like sometimes when you autocorrect and like you're looking for the word banana and then it comes up bandana or something else.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm coming out with the wrong words. It's
Yeah.
not what I'm thinking.
That's pretty damn close, Laura.
Yeah, I know. Who gives a shit?
My niece's name is Cole. Cole, and I'm in a text thread where there's photos and the talent shows and all this shit's being sent to me and stuff. So I can't even say it anymore. But every time I go, I love Cole, or like I love you, Cole, it autocorrects to Coke. So all the time it's like, I love Coke. A beautiful family thread about my ballerina thing, and I'm just like, more Coke picture. Like
That's great.
and it sounds like caveman drug order. Like
I love that
all the time.
That's great.
Thank you, Coke. Like it's always comes up, and I'm talking about a toddler.
You know, it was a really big change in my life was when drugs became medications.
Yes, what a time.
Because I used to love drugs, but now I take medications.
Yeah, I guess that's one good thing about getting older. But Jonathan, are you on medical marijuana or even street marijuana?
No, I've never really liked marijuana. I get paranoid. I've had 2 heart attacks in my life.
Oh, geez. In the same place?
No, one in Philly. Actually, you talk about. I know that's not what you meant, but sometimes the truth is funny.
So, Jonathan, is that what you had to do to be on new drugs, or I mean, do you have to take different diet?
I'm supposed to have a heart-healthy diet, which means you can't eat anything you enjoy.
Right.
My mother died of lung cancer. She smoked 3 packs of Camels every day for 30 years.
Wow.
Died in December.
Damn.
Smoked for another 2 months. Oh, give me the strength to do my act, please.
That's so good. Did you ever smoke, or is it different? Like when your parents smoke, you don't want to.
No, I never smoked.
Wait, did you ever live in Los Angeles or for like comedy and things? How long were you out
I
here?
lived there. I made a TV show with Bob Saget called Raising Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I spent about a year and a half in LA. I don't know why I spent the extra half a year there. I'm not sure. I can't explain that.
Talk about Bob Saget for a bit. People love him.
Bob Saget was disgusting. Really disgusting. But I liked the guy a lot. Mm-hmm. And I became friends with his mom, his dad.
Aw. Disgusting in what way?
Just it's comedy I'm talking about. He was trying to shake the Full House image.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way he knew how.
Well, between that, his Full House image, and he was on America's Funniest Home Videos, the old school one.
Oh yeah.
He hosted it, and the copy for that show was very, light, innocent, family friendly.
Yeah.
Was supposed to be kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
So both times you saw Bob Saget on television, he was this endearing sitcom father or this Sunday night, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. host.
Yeah.
Of that. So his exposure, like for me as a TV watcher, was very wholesome. So to find out that he was,
it's kind of funny in a way. I mean, if he was doing stand-up and he was discovered, and then somebody thought he'd be a great dad.
And on Raising Dad, he played the father of 2 young girls, Brie Larson and Kat Dennings.
Right? Oh, really?
His father was a really wonderful actor. What's my name recall? Jerry Adler.
Oh.
He was in The Sopranos. He played Hesh.
right? That guy.
Yeah.
Who were your comedy heroes and stuff growing up, or were they more musicians?
I have 2 comedy heroes, and they were both named Ronnie Shakes. Ronnie Shakes was my all-time favorite comic.
Aw.
Do you remember him, Laura?
I think so, yeah. I feel like he must have been at Stitches maybe once or twice?
No, he was a New York comic.
Oh,
and
only
he
New
would
York.
go
Okay,
on
so maybe it was
stage,
catching
Catch a Rising
New York.
Star. He would get on stage with a clipboard and a list of 10 jokes, and he would tell a joke, and if it didn't work, he'd tell it a different way. And I'll tell you my favorite joke of his. Okay. And he talked like Georgie Jessel, like a throwback kind of a way of speaking. So I got thrown in the joint on some trumped up charge, and they said you get one call. Nobody called.
That's good.
And his most famous joke is about being in therapy for 12 years. And yesterday, my shrink said something that brought tears to my eyes. No habla inglés.
And you knew him, or he was someone you watched?
Yeah, I was a fan of his, and I knew him a little bit. I was with him when he died, and he was jogging, and it was me and him and his wife. And he said to me, "Do my act."
Shut up.
And so then you just fell in the street?
Yeah. I also love the comedy of Rita Rudner.
I love Rita Rudner.
Yeah.
I love Rita.
Yeah.
I've never met her. I've always wanted to. When she came through Austin, my friend Vanessa, Vanessa Gonzalez, got to open for her. Oh. And everybody was just enamored that Rita was even in town. This was just a few years ago, but I love Rita Rudner.
I worked with her in Savannah, Georgia, and I was so impressed that she asked me if I liked her joke. I just couldn't believe she would. Then she asked the cab driver, the doorman at the club. She asked everybody.
Oh.
But what were you going to say, Laura? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I thought that we should do the first ever Eve Arden Award in excellence in broadcasting. I think would go to Jonathan Katz.
Yeah, I agree with that. Was TV work something you were interested in? What were you looking for in comedy? Any kind of job? I mean, it seems like you did road work is what I love. I love that a lot.
I worked on the road for 15 years, and I did the same act, the same set every fucking night, and I hated it.
Damn.
I really did, and part of it was because a lot of my act was pre-recorded. And Laura knows what I'm talking about, don't you?
No.
Oh, I would look into the audience, and I'd stare at some woman, and the audience would hear, "Oh my God, who is that exquisite creature?" I could play back from my guitar. I could play back that recording.
Right.
I had a cassette player built into my guitar.
I do remember that. I remember that, Jonathan.
I had a great way of dealing with hecklers because I was terrified of hecklers. So before every show, I would hand out 3 index cards to 3 different audience members with a different heckle on each one so I could be prepared.
Oh, that's so fucking smart. That's great.
One said, your mother wears army boots. Mm-hmm. Another was nice hair. And the third one was you suck. Want to hear the comebacks?
Yeah.
I want to know.
You suck, I would say fuck you. But the one about my hair was, maybe you'd like to explain to your friends what you find so comical about chemotherapy. That's
fantastic. Jonathan, do you remember?
That's so funny.
Do you remember? Maybe you were in the audience, or maybe you were waiting to go on. Do you remember when Dennis Leary there was a guy in a body cast in the audience, and this was at Stitches, and he kept shitting on this guy.
A guy in a what?
He was in a body cast, in a wheelchair and in a body cast, and he kept shitting on this guy, saying, "Oh, maybe you should stop skiing." And everybody, was laughing, and maybe you should take skiing lessons, and on and on and on and on. And then he said, "Okay, really? Okay, what happened?" And he said, "I have bone cancer." And then everybody was just kind of, the whole audience was with Dennis the whole time, laughing a bit. And then Dennis said, "Oh, hey, let's hear it for this guy." So then everybody's clapping for cancer.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That is so amazing. I'm amazed that he had ever worked again, Dennis Leary.
Yeah.
Before you guys arrived, I was trying to figure out whether this would be funny. just to have a hand on my chest and try to convince you it wasn't mine.
And you guys met in Boston, right?
Yes.
You know what? I think I was probably waiting in line at Stitches. We all sat outside to get on the open mic.
I think I had like a pass. I don't think I ever had to wait online anywhere.
No, I don't think so.
What is comedy for you these days? You're on the East Coast mostly performing?
Mostly I do Zoom stuff. I do sets. And my podcast, I do a podcast called Hey, We're Back.
How long have you been doing that?
Since whenever Mark Maron started doing podcasts, I started doing one too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I wouldn't call it a podcast. I'd call it a make-believe radio show.
That's the Eve Arden connection.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think that's why you get the first Eve Arden Award for excellence in broadcasting.
I'm pretty damn excited about this, Laura.
Well, it's happening.
Hope you're not kidding.
I'm not.
Okay.
Actually, I was just looking it up because I've always been a huge fan of hers. I didn't know that Our Miss Brooks was a radio show first.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Hello.
I thought I thought it was a
Yes.
TV show.
In fact, you can hear that. You can listen to that on Audible.
Yeah. I listen to old Jack Benny radio. You can listen to it on YouTube. Nerds have like put it up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Every Jack Benny radio show from like the 30s to the 50s, and every episode of his TV show is all on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Because I Love Lucy was a radio show called My Favorite Husband.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
Wow.
it's the same writers, same everything. And the first season of I Love Lucy, a lot of those scripts are just the radio show.
Oh.
That they just visualized or made more visual. But Our Miss Brooks was the same. That was CBS. That was Desilu.
Oh.
All the same. Because Lucille Ball wanted Gail Gordon to be Fred Mertz, but he was already obligated to, I think, Our Miss Brooks
Sure, that makes sense.
or something like that. So he was unavailable.
Oh, that would have been much more palatable to Vivian Vance, who did not want to
Right.
be with such an old guy.
But that would have been that wouldn't have been like perfect chemistry. It would have been, he was too Laurel and Hardy. You needed like old ass.
I would
me.
hate it if this was the end of your friendship.
Over this.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
You guys, you seem to get along so well, and then this came up.
I know.
It's always Eve Arden.
I know. Why
is
is she always
the fracture in our friendship?
I don't know.
But I think that Jonathan's to be the first recipient because both Eve Arden and Jonathan Katz are swarthy.
Swarthy?
Yeah.
But why are you assuming my availability?
The induction is on Zoom.
You know, I've never seen Jonathan's wife. I'm not sure that she exists.
Is not a real. He keeps looking off screen to something.
I know.
She's up one story. I want to show you the kind of work my daughter does.
Okay.
I love this. It's so suspenseful. Do you see the Coca-Cola clock in the back? I love that.
This is a paper cut.
Oh wow!
Oh, how cool!
Me and my daughter.
I love it.
And you
fabulous.
can see this. You can see these on Instagram under Julia Katz paper cuts.
Beautiful.
How many kids do you have?
2 beautiful kids, couple of kids not so attractive. Give me the strength not to do my act.
Wait a second, Jonathan. Do you have you have two daughters?
Yeah, and 2 grandchildren.
Both yours?
Did you try to infuse your kids with any music or any of your like creative pursuits?
Yeah, and both of my daughters are funnier than I am. One is Mandy and the other is Julia.
Oh.
So you're doing a lot of Zoom shows. Is it like post-pandemic that you're doing that? Is it why are you mostly Zoom? Are you just over the road?
Well, it has to do with, it's mostly my podcast that I do. Mm-hmm. And that we do that virtually the way you do yours.
How many times do we have to like bring it up for you to ask us to be on it? You're just not going to? You've got a certain level of comedians?
I mean, Maron's podcast has been on for 12 years, 13 years.
No,
How many
I guess
years?
we're not going to get asked, are we?
Were you friends with Mark Maron ever?
Yeah, sort of.
Were you?
Sort of.
I think that's the kind of friendship you can have with Mark Maron. It's a sort of friendship.
He was on Dr. Katz, as were you, Laura.
Talk about that show. That's a huge. I think people
Yeah.
were really influenced by that, and it was on. my access to it, I believe, was Comedy Central back in like the 90s and stuff. But it got a lot of airplay. And does that show, was that fun to work on? Was that something you ever thought you'd be working on as like animation and things?
Definitely in show business, it's the most fun I've ever had. And for me, it was working with John Benjamin.
Oh, yeah, he's
hilarious.
Great. He is truly hilarious.
Because the whole thing about that show was you had like a special guest for the most, you know what I mean? Like you always had like a guest star, or a famous comedian. And
you
stuff.
Discovered his voice.
Actually, he the current episode of Hey, We're Back is all about the inception. I'm going to try to say this right. The inception of Dr. Katz. Tom Snyder is a guest. Lauren Bouchard, who created Bob's Burgers, is a guest.
Oh, wow.
And Laura Silverman is my co-host, and she makes a startling confession during that podcast. And I'll send you a text. That's something you don't want to hear out of context.
There were just a few shows like that in that time, because you had The Critic, you had The Simpsons, obviously, but there wasn't like adult animation, even on Cartoon Network or like cable television, that had adult concepts, adult characters, humanish.
Right.
But I felt like Dr. Katz like stood alone.
I once met John Lovitz, and I said to him, I think I'm your bald animation competition. He said, I can't do John Lovitz. But
Oh, it would be fun to have those two characters together.
yeah.
Talk about working on that show. What was that like?
First you get there. No, I'm sorry. That was too specific. But I made one big mistake when the show started, because I took my role as therapist too literally. And we made 91 episodes, during which I made one woman cry.
Wow, really?
I'll text you. And one guy feel better about himself.
Oh.
I could tell you the guy who felt better about himself was Bob Balaban.
Do you remember? And I didn't even realize how insulting it was. I'm one of the. I've done 2 episodes, I think, of Dr. Katz. And remember, and you picked me up in the car. And do you remember what I said that you said was so insulting?
No.
I got into the car, and I said, "Oh, I bet you. I'm so glad you have dogs too." And you said, "We don't have dogs." And I said, "Oh, because it smelled like dogs in your car." Do you remember?
No, but that sounds. I wonder what we had. Oh, we had children. Hey, I just wanted to tell you more about Dr. Katz. I still get letters from people how much the show meant to them.
Oh, really?
I'm telling you, it was
That's so
it was
great.
it was a very relevant thing.
Have you ever talked about bringing it back?
I don't own the rights. The rights are owned by Comedy Central.
Well, once that Eve Arden Award, once we get that Eve Arden Award in your hands, Comedy Central will be calling you.
Jonathan, you should find out if you can get the rights. You know why I got the rights to my show? It was called The Minor Accomplishments of Jackie Woodman, and they didn't they didn't re-air it, and so I just called. Finally, I called Ed Carroll, who was just this wonderful guy who was producer, and I think he was actually running the net. He was running IFC at that point. He was a programmer or whatever, and I had his number, and I just called. And I used the fact that I'd had a brain aneurysm. So, you could say that, you've got MS, and can you have the rights to your show? The sympathy angle.
What did the guy in the Dennis Leary audience, what was his problem?
He had bone cancer. Oh, yeah, use that. Use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really serious.
Yeah, if you could call that guy who helped you with your show, that would be great.
I will.
No, I'm going to say during my aneurysm, I got bone cancer.
Fantastic. Jonathan, we love you. And
wait, wait, are we wrapping up? Because, I don't really have anything until midnight.
Oh, shit.
No.
Well, we could order food.
We should
let's
summarize
hang
our points. Laura, it's so great to see you, and I would love to have both you guys on my show.
We would love to. Yes. If I can speak for...
Yes.
Yes.
You can.
Anytime. I would love to. And I'm going to start listening to it.
I'm going to...
right before we do it. That's what everybody does. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about podcasts. They listen to them. If they're going to be a guest, they listen the day before, right, Jonathan? And then
So they can learn how to pronounce
and
the
then they
host
say,
name.
I love your podcast.
Yeah, I know that trick.
Okay.
You are right. I've listened to Ron Lynch.
Which is the last episode.
Yeah. Doesn't I have to say, Garrett does an amazing job.
Yeah, he does.
Doesn't he? Like
Absolutely.
he keeps it moving.
Keeps it
does.
moving, makes us
Yeah.
look good.
Except at one point, well,
I have to put more
Never
blush
mind.
on. No, what? What
too
is it?
creepy.
What with Garrett? What did he do?
No.
Wrong. See?
no, at one point before you guys arrived, I was staring at his crotch for 10 minutes.
Oh, I know. He makes people do that.
It's-
It's a power thing.
Well, he's very powerful.
He's got a,
Pretty damn good.
That's also how we end the podcast, though, is with 10 more minutes
of Garrett's
crotch.
package.
He's just been...
Get it back. I just want to point one thing out to you, Laura Keitlinger, that I
Yes,
told you two of my pseudonyms, and I'm going to assume that you're still Laura the Legs Keitlinger.
You son of a
unless you
bitch.
mean otherwise.
Thank you for remembering.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Put him on the glass.
thank you guys.
Put him on the
that?
glass is my other pseudonym. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Love you. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, Kid
Thank
Gloves.
you so much.
It was great to talk to you.
I know. Thank you. Mwah.
Okay. I'm closing my computer just to show my support.
Now we see his crotch.
Now we've got to see John's crotch. Can we get away from this? This is a package contest.
That was a great exit.